Well, it was quite a pleasant surprise, first of all. And it shows that when you write something from the heart, from a need, it makes sense. And then somehow it gets traction from students and from faculty. But it means a lot. It means a lot to me. Teaching is a huge part of my life. It really gives a lot of meaning to me to see that there's some kind of recognition for something that I did put some thought into with my colleague Nida on how to reach student populations in a more meaningful way. And if I can do that, if I can help other people do that, it's really, really meaningful to me. So it's wonderful. Well, I think probably because the entry point is an institutional setting of a school. And, we send our students off to look at cases, like corporate cases or NGOs, but we don't look at what happens in the classroom, specifically in group work. And a lot of dynamics are there, especially with students who are experienced. So whether they're pre-experienced, post-experienced, they come for an MBA or they come for an early master's program or a bachelor's, they all come with such diversity that they don't always see in the cases they're reading for companies. They can't project themselves as well. And so when they come back into the classroom, those dynamics become very relevant. And we saw in groups what happened was we just started noticing, and I think we all know this, that there's a backstory to group work and there's what the group produces publicly. But everything that's happening behind the scenes was kind of being somehow not revealed or concealed from faculty. And I wanted to get to the heart of it. So I had to wait until the end of the school year where I could talk to students and see what happens in these groups. And I was able to interview them in groups and individually. And Nida and I really found some interesting stuff. And I think that's why it resonates, is because students need to make sense of some of these adverse situations or sometimes some conflictual situations. And there are many different layers of why group work can be conflictual, but one of the layers is culture. And that's what we wanted to pinpoint. I think a good case is always where you have some kind of empirical observation and you're looking at it. And when you talk to your students about a situation, you're realizing you're not finding anything that explains it well enough. You can go to academic literature and find pretty much anything. So you can find theories, frameworks that explain it, but it's harder to find empirical cases, which is a big part of what we do when we're in business school. We teach with case method. So we need to go between theories and practice. And I think the entry point being, a school was important, and then saying, how can we use this to explain to our students, to provide some kind of explanatory value for conflict that happens, right? And so I do think that one of the things we learned from this by looking at student groups was saying, it doesn't matter if it's in a company or in student groups, what you need is to find something that you can't find a story for that would be exemplary for the students, that would help them work through something. And we thought it's also therapeutic, because we really do think that, when you're writing a case, you need to think, what would help people make sense of something that is sometimes troubling or sometimes not clear. So there's kind of ambiguity. So I think by thinking of a project or looking at an empirical situation and saying, I can't find anything similar in cases I'm using, and I can't find something that actually helps my students make sense of it, and sometimes bringing it back to a level that is easier for them to relate to is important. So I would also suggest more student or classroom and educational based cases. What's happening in schools, what's happening in higher education environments could be helpful for the students too, because what's happening in the larger society, whatever is political and sociological kind of phenomena that are happening, those macro elements come into the classroom just like they come into companies. So I think that would be another piece of advice, would be observe what's happening and try to find once in a while a case that your students can resonate with immediately as Generation X, 20-somethings that are also grappling with these issues.